Many of us are familiar with the idea that managing diabetes revolves around monitoring sugar intake and carefully controlling carbohydrates. We adjust our diets, avoid the sweets, and embrace foods that are thought to help regulate our blood sugar levels. Yet, there's one protein lurking in common foods that might just be making things worse despite our best efforts. It's not just the cakes or the candies that are the culprits. This specific protein is woven into foods that we often consider healthy, and it's silently contributing to those frustrating blood sugar spikes. When you're trying to keep diabetes in check, it can feel almost like a game of cat and mouse, cutting down on sugar here, adding a little extra fiber there, hoping to find that perfect balance. But what if something else is sneaking into our diet, undermining all that effort without us even knowing? Before we continue, I'd like to tell you about diaceylon, a blend of 13 science-backed natural ingredients specifically formulated for diabetics. From Ceylon cinnamon, berberine, and turmeric to apple cider vinegar, Gymnema sylvestre, and banaba, this wonder supplement has it all. Check out diaceylon.com for more information. Now, back to the video. The connection between this protein and diabetes might not seem obvious at first, but research points out how it triggers inflammation and messes with insulin sensitivity. Several studies have shown that it could act as an irritant to the body, especially in people who are already dealing with chronic health issues like diabetes. And inflammation is a key player here. The body responds to this protein with an immune response, creating inflammation that can interfere with the delicate process of blood sugar regulation. For those with diabetes, managing insulin sensitivity is crucial, and anything that tips the balance away from stability can lead to increased complications. It's like adding fuel to a fire. All the efforts to manage the flames with careful diet choices are jeopardized by a seemingly harmless addition. So, what is this protein that's potentially wreaking havoc? It's gluten. Found in foods like bread, pasta, and a range of baked goods, gluten is a mix of proteins naturally occurring in wheat and related grains. While it's often associated with conditions like celiac disease, its impact on diabetes and blood sugar regulation has come under scrutiny recently. The effects of gluten aren't limited to those who are strictly intolerant. Emerging research suggests that even individuals without celiac disease might experience increased inflammation and altered insulin responses after consuming gluten-rich foods. Studies conducted by researchers from the Harvard Medical School indicate that a gluten-rich diet could worsen insulin sensitivity for those with type 2 diabetes. This subtle change means that the insulin our bodies do produce becomes less effective, leading to higher glucose levels after meals. But what makes gluten especially troublesome is that it is found in so many of our staple foods: bread, pasta, and cereals. Foods that many of us turn to for comfort or for a quick meal often contain gluten. The issue becomes more complicated because gluten is often present in foods that are typically promoted as part of a healthy diet. Think of that whole grain bread that is recommended for fiber. The very thing we think is nourishing us might be quietly raising our blood sugar levels and contributing to an inflammatory cycle. And the inflammation doesn't just affect blood sugar. It can also increase the risk of complications such as neuropathy or cardiovascular issues, both of which are major concerns for diabetics. It's true that not everyone will experience noticeable symptoms if they consume gluten, and the impact can vary from one person to another. For some, the response may be subtle, with perhaps a slight increase in blood sugar that's easy to overlook. But for others, gluten could be a major factor in erratic blood sugar levels, and cutting it out could be the key to unlocking better diabetes control. Research from the American Diabetes Association has highlighted that individuals who shifted to a gluten-free diet experienced an improvement in their glycemic control. It's a challenging lifestyle change for sure, especially when gluten is so prevalent in our diet, but the results can be meaningful. lower fasting glucose levels, fewer blood sugar spikes, and less inflammation. Of course, going gluten-free isn't without its hurdles. Gluten is a common binder in foods, and many gluten-free alternatives can be more expensive or harder to find. Additionally, not all gluten-free products are inherently healthy. Some are processed and contain high levels of sugar or fats. It's not as simple as swapping wheat bread for a gluten-free version and expecting miraculous results. When cutting out gluten, it's crucial to also focus on overall nutrition, opting for whole unprocessed foods like vegetables, lean proteins, and complex carbohydrates like quinoa or brown rice. There are plenty of naturally gluten-free foods that can provide the fiber and nutrients needed without the potentially damaging side effects of gluten. Another aspect to consider is how gluten impacts the gut microbiome. Gluten has been shown to alter the composition of gut bacteria, which can further contribute to inflammation. For people with diabetes, maintaining a healthy gut is especially important, as it plays a key role in digestion and nutrient absorption, both of which directly affect blood sugar levels. An imbalanced gut can mean less stable blood sugar, more inflammation, and greater difficulty in managing the condition overall. Studies have found that individuals who removed gluten from their diets experienced a more balanced gut microbiome, which in turn helped reduce overall inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. Many people may wonder if they should immediately drop gluten entirely or simply reduce it. It often comes down to individual tolerance and how much effort someone wants to put into dietary adjustments. Some might find that simply reducing gluten intake helps, perhaps switching from traditional bread to a gluten-free version a few times a week, or replacing pasta with alternatives made from chickpeas or lentils. Others might benefit from a more complete shift, where gluten is fully removed from the diet for a period to see if there are noticeable improvements. Keeping a food journal can help, as it allows people to track their meals and make connections between gluten consumption and blood sugar fluctuations. Another interesting aspect of gluten's impact relates to stress and energy levels. For individuals with diabetes, stress can already complicate blood sugar control. Gluten in some people has been linked to increased levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. Higher cortisol levels can lead to increased insulin resistance, which makes it even harder to regulate blood sugar effectively. By reducing gluten intake, some people report feeling more energetic, less bloated, and experiencing fewer energy crashes, all of which can help in maintaining stable blood sugar levels throughout the day. We must recognize that while gluten might not be an enemy for everyone, for those struggling with managing diabetes, it's definitely worth a closer look. Not every person with diabetes needs to eliminate gluten, but paying attention to how it affects blood sugar and inflammation might reveal some surprising insights. And the best way to determine if gluten is impacting you personally is to make changes and observe. Try going without it for a few weeks and note if there are changes in how you feel or how your body responds. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but many people with diabetes have found that reducing or eliminating gluten has made a big difference in their blood sugar management and overall quality of life. We have reached the part that might just change everything you thought about diabetes management. Imagine making one simple dietary shift and suddenly noticing that your blood sugar is easier to control, that those unexpected highs and lows are smoothed out, and that the stress of constant monitoring is reduced. It may sound too good to be true, but for many, cutting out gluten has been that change. When we're talking about managing a condition as complex as diabetes, every small step counts. And addressing the role of gluten could be the key to unlocking greater stability and better health. Before making any drastic dietary changes, consulting with a healthcare professional or nutritionist is recommended, as they can guide you towards a well-balanced plan that meets your individual needs. For some, this protein might be harmless, but for others, it could be the missing puzzle piece. Gluten has flown under the radar for many people managing diabetes, but by bringing it into focus, you just might find a new path to better health and a little less stress.